I'm Nilati Makanda, and this is UOMT Radio, where we dissect culture with the sharpest of minds in the streets.
In one of her insightful writings, Nwabi Samazana speaks to the significance of embracing fluidity and the courage to afford oneself multiple restarts. She writes, "I promised myself endless restarts, as many rebirths as my weary bones could handle, and if this is the 9th restart, it is still mine, and I must begin again." This concept, though intimidating in a society that values certainty, is a vital grace that young individuals should embrace. The discourse on crafting lives that truly resonate with us frequently centers on the declaration of intent, yet we rarely speak about the tangible challenges and the bravery needed to overcome societal norms in pursuit of the lives that we yearn for. This discussion spotlights Wesley Katlego More, also known as Big Wezzo, a photographer and urban culture enthusiast who orbits the spaces and places of young people in a way that informs both his work and his worldview. Wesley navigates the delicate balance of being an introverted creator while building a career that involves genuine connections with people without any pretense or force. In our conversation, he sheds light on pursuing the unconventional path and the importance of pushing forward with conviction into a craft you are passionate about. We also get sentimental and reflect on maintaining personal relationships amidst professional demands.
Oftentimes, people are curious about the creative process of creatives, right? But I'm more interested in the feeling. What are the sensations that you experience, like moments before you capture an image? Or like that point where you realize, oh my God, there's an angle and I'm about to capture it in the way that, I envision it. What does that feel like for you?
I don't know. I've never really, it's actually a good question because I've never really had time to think about it like that. But I think for me, it's always, I don't know, how do I put it? It's always almost kind of like, I don't know how to, for better lack of a word, it's kind of like an instant feeling, like an in the moment thing where it's like, I see something and all I want is like what I see. There's already like a fast track process of how the end product is going to look like. So for me, it's kind of like there's that energy rush that like, you need to get this. You need to. So more than anything, it's kind of like an adrenaline thing for me.
I feel you.
Not sure if it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. What I usually struggle with in terms of actually just creatively, especially with images and video, is that I picture like the end result, right? Like what it's supposed to look like. And then for me, the challenge is working backwards. Now you need to work backwards to try and create what you see. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, right?
But I think for me, just to jump on that, it's not really about as much as like I'm in that like energy rush to get the end product.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes how my process is, it's like, okay, we're gonna do this today. But I know for sure that in between, I'm just going to go off script just to create certain things that are within the moment that most of the time, those are the things I use. I just like going off script. I just like having a script or an idea base just to like have a guideline. But I know when I'm there, then I'm like, can we do this? And it's usually off the script.
That sounds cool.
So, yeah.
So you navigate the spaces of events, lifestyle, and corporate photography, right? Paint a picture for me. What do those different spaces look like, and how do they differ, right? Because surely they're not the same. And are you the same Wesley in lifestyle as you are in corporate?
I don't think there's a corporate Wesley. I think there's one Wesley throughout.
Okay.
It's just that, when you're in certain spaces, you can't really get as rowdy. Like I'm someone who gets very rowdy. Like once I'm used to everyone, like let's be chilled.
Mm-hmm.
So because even sometimes some of my clients would be like, okay, after a shoot, what are you doing? Probably let's say I'm shooting a bird. What are you doing here? Do you mind staying? Like let's chill. But sometimes I just like having that feel. Yeah, hold on. Okay, I was working, but let me vibe.
Yeah.
But if there's one of those recurring clients that are always, then we can chill.
Mm-hmm.
We can chill. We can pop a few bottles or what. But yeah.
Post-shoot drinks.
Navigating the different spaces. Yeah. Like navigating the different spaces. In terms of events, let me put... Okay, events are very broad, but like, let's say festivals.
Mm-hmm.
Festivals, I started only shooting festivals like this year.
Mm-hmm.
They are a different beast in a sense that, you know, sometimes there's a large crowd. Now I need to jump into the crowd to get those moments. Now someone is jumping in front of the camera while I'm looking at an artist performing. I'm trying to capture that. So, but once you get to the other side, when you're backstage, that's when you can like move swiftly.
Mm-hmm.
So very... dealing with people is a very difficult thing.
Oh, man.
It's a very difficult thing because I'm very shy. So sometimes having to tap someone like, hey, would you like a picture? You don't know. They might say no. They might say yes. So it has its anxieties. But
that's
corporates usually more formal. Yeah. But corporates usually more formal. You're dealing with like older people.
Yeah.
Well, with the clients that I've served, dealing with older people, so they want, some of them like lean towards you for direction.
Mm-hmm.
Some, it's like, you know, those bosses, the team leaders, they want to tell you, no, you must take me like this. You see, you must take me like this. No, let's do it again. And I'm like, yo, there's a bunch of other people. I'm not just here for you.
Like,
you know,
time is money.
But you just, it's those. Then what was the other one? It was like events, corporate,
lifestyle,
and lifestyle. Lifestyle, it's usually more of like a freestyle thing. Because clients, you know, they give you a brief, unless they're working with a brand, they give you a brief of how we should do. But then we get there, then it's usually like more of a freestyle thing where we're just using like I said before, like the concept as a base, just as a guideline, so that if we can't think of anything, then let's go back to the original thing. So that's how like I think I navigate those spaces differently. But at the end of the day, I always feel like you're dealing with people at the end of the day.
I feel you. I like the fact that you mentioned being shy, but also in the same token, you know, sort of being outspoken, like when you're in that space. Because I think a lot of people think creatives are automatically extroverts, right? Like we should be able to be a certain way, right? So I find that really interesting. And navigating that, like when I think about festivals and concerts, like I'm always so psyched up. I'm like, oh my God, this artist is coming through. I'm gonna go, and then I'm like, oh my God, will I be able to? Will I be able to be in the crowd? And I just end up not going.
The one thing that scares me about festivals and even artists is like sometimes it's kind of like I never even speak to them. I'll just get there. If I'm close to someone, I'll just nod, hey, and then I just keep it going. So that's the shy bit of me just coming along, unless someone is like, I'm really trying to talk. Because most of the time I'm like, yes, probably I would have gotten like a more kind of like pose picture if my personality would allow me at that point in time to be like, hey, I'm shooting, I'm covering something. Can I just take a couple of pictures of you just posing? So it's one of those things I feel like one needs to work on.
Yeah, definitely.
But not really beating myself about it like that much.
Yeah, that's good. So UOMT is basically about urban culture. So we're always going to have a standard question geared towards that. So what is your favorite era of South African urban culture, right? We've had the Skotanes, we've had Boys and Bags, Piano, we have Amapiano, their own vibe. So what is your favorite era?
I think my favorite era is like when, not even before Boys and Bags now. It's like when South African hip hop was still like bubbling under, and I remember me and my friends used to like struggle to download songs because you couldn't find songs anywhere.
Yeah.
Like we had to, if one person could find a song, then we'd have to go to each other's houses, like Bluetooth the song. It's that era of peak Kulichana.
Oh yeah.
AKA is about to enter the scene. He's running with like Vichy Lab. That peak kind of like, I don't know, maybe I might be wrong for saying it, but that's like peak deep Back to the City.
I feel you.
We had Let's Gang, we had Max, we had Josie. So those are like, we had Running with the Reps. You remember Running with the Reps?
Hey guys, like guys,
so that was like my favorite era.
We come from.
That was my favorite era. I'm a keep.
Yay, I'm a keep. Before it's the I'm a keep of now. You know, the 2000s now, they know it to be something else, right? And I think
it's like early 2000s.
What is interesting about that time also is that was sort of the, I guess, the 1 foot in, 1 foot out, because SA hip hop at that time was still kind of doing the whole American hip hop influences, but also moving into our own signature of what hip hop is in South Africa, right? So it was very, very interesting because shortly after that, you know, we got the Run Josies. We got the, hey, do you remember when Karakara dropped? Hi, guys.
The Boys and Bags.
Karakara.
I still remember that. The peak South African hip-hop era, if I could define it in one phrase, Slicker on Life for me.
Interesting.
The start of Slicker on Life. I was living there.
Interesting.
Slicker on Life was like where I got most of my stuff.
And it really has been.
So that was like how could be.
It really has been, you know, beautiful that he sort of also transitioned from being the artist and, you know, being, I guess, the face of the music, and then sort of stepping back and letting his platform become, you know, sort of a house for other creators and other, you know, musicians and whatnot. It's been very interesting to see that from him. And also and I think maybe as a photographer, you might relate to this, going from pushing something as, I guess, as a craft to a business, right? I think what Slick on Life did there was to make an actual business out of some of the things that we see in the industry. So I agree with you.
They're kind of like the blueprint of urban culture being captured like on a media level.
Yes.
They transcended into like the business side of it, everything.
Absolutely. So talking about creators reinventing themselves, if you weren't in your profession now, your current profession, what would you be doing?
Yeah. I would have been an accountant. I would have been doing something in accounting.
Okay, that's
what I used to do. That's what I studied BCom accounting.
Okay.
And that's when in my third year I was like, nah. Because like we were getting a lot of gigs. We started doing like photography with me and my friends, just like a side hustle. One picks up a camera there, one has it. We start just playing around. And then people were like, this is the era where even birthday dinners were starting to become a thing. So we shoot a lot of like birthday dinners. And then, you know, when you have the female audience, you sit. You're very sit.
You're good.
So that was like the thing where it boomed and it got busy. And then for me, at that point in time, I was like, not really sure about the school thing anymore. And then when I was like, let me just leave it. Let me just fully go into the media space, the visual media space. So that's that.
That's an interesting journey. And I think maybe I would want to talk to you about how it feels to not go the traditional route, right? Because I know our parents, in their time, they were used to, okay, go to school, go to varsity, work, craft your life in a certain way. And us these days, we're not trying to follow that template, right?
Yeah.
So talk to me about that. I guess what was the response in your personal space for that? And now as an individual, how did it feel for you to make that decision, to sort of go in the other path?
I think it's one of the hardest decisions to ever make, because now you're telling parents that your 3 years of school fees, rent and stuff like that, and you're not coming home with a degree. Is like, it's one of those most difficult conversations.
Yeah.
It's like, and now you have to, and then they're like, nah, you can't stay there. Now you have to move back home. Now you're back home. Now you're sitting with them. Now everything you do, even if it's like the tiniest, smallest things, becomes the biggest thing.
Yeah,
you know how black parents are. But it's one of the most difficult things. But for me, it's kind of like, we're doing a lot of work back in the time. Marketing students always have these assignments that need visuals and stuff, and I'm helping people with assignments, but I'm not really doing mine at that time. I'm not even looking forward to doing mine. So it becomes very apparent for me. It's like, I've been trying to duck this thing for the longest of time, but it keeps on following me, because as much as what I was going there to do is not really kind of like what I want to do at the moment, but the other side is like, you're taking photos and you're making mine. It's like, you don't want to be experiencing that as like a 21-year-old, 20-year-old, So I'm like, yeah. So, but it just came to that to that conversation with my parents. I was like, yeah, dog, maybe give me some time off, then.
And then
if I can't really stand on my feet, then yeah, So, and then you start doing stuff, and they start seeing the money come in. Now you can give them a young 2K, young 3K then there, and then they can see like, we still don't understand what you're doing, but finally they just warm up to it, because more than anything, my mom was like, if you can just stand on your own feet, it doesn't matter if you're living at home or where you're living, but if you can just do things where you can take care of yourself, I don't have to be involved, and I can see that you're doing good, then that just gives me like
comfort,
a peace of mind that, okay, this guy probably knows what he's doing. I don't understand it, but let me just give you the benefit of the doubt, because my parents are, for me, I think they're very supportive. They're very supportive of my like things that I always want to do, but as long as I communicate, they don't have to get the full extent, but they just have to know that, he's doing this. But if you ask, like, what does that actually mean? They're like, bruh, So we just trust you to do it. So it's a different space to navigate, because now the other thing is that you start, people that you were in class with, they're buying like BMWs, they're getting houses, where now probably at the other side you're looking like a struggling artist, trying to put concepts together, pitching to clients. When you pitch to clients, they tell you that there's no budget. Then 3 weeks after, they try to DIY your idea, and you're like, bruh, man, what do you think? So you can't even take loans because you don't have a consistent income. So there's the other things that you have to deal with. There's a lot to it. But I think more than anything, I just have a huge support base. People are willing to we trust you. And it's not even with my parents, because it's with my friends also. Like my friends really ride for me. Yeah, but
and that's important.
Yeah, man. We just take it the day as it comes. Yeah.
I can relate.
We just take it as it comes.
I can relate to every.
Yeah, share your story. I'm listening.
I can relate. I mean, you speak about. I often think about Drake's. There's a line got Drake eti. My mom wanted me to be a CEO. Something's happening, but I ended up being a CEO anyway, so the lifestyle she respects. And I think about that line a lot. I think it's on Sticky. Yeah, it's on Sticky. And I think about that line a lot, even in this conversation, because yes, our parents definitely want us to go a certain direction, and they mean well. You get what I mean? So I definitely relate to your life not turning out, in the traditional template. I mean, I didn't really envision my life, like back in the days. I could have never envisioned my life as a full-time writer, right? I recently met someone, and when I said I was a writer, they kind of looked at me like, huh? Like I was like, I don't know. And I was like, it's like people don't think, like they don't know where the writers are. I sort of got that impression from him, where he was like, where are the writers?
Yeah.
And he didn't expect to see a writer writing.
It's one of those things. It's like I deal with this now. Clients come to you, they reach out to you, they want work done, and it's mostly like corporate businesses that are kind of like privately owned, and they say, okay, we want this, we want to do this, and I'm like, okay, this is how we're gonna do it. Budget wise, we're not looking good. I'm like, okay, let's just tweak it here and here. And then you send the quotation and someone is like, nah, this is too much or whatever. But for me, it's like, I like even taking the quotation, like I like printing it out so I can watch someone like have that reaction when they hold it, especially with those kind of people. So they like, but the feeling that I always get is kind of like, nah, I don't think you're worth that much. But I'm like, okay, since we live in a small town, if you had to get the same people who are doing what I'm doing, you'd probably have to outsource them from a different town.
Yes.
So imagine all the expenses of having to bring them here.
Travel.
While you can be dealing with someone that you can just call and drive to. And it's even going to be probably triple or the amount that I charged. So having to navigate some spaces for me, it's one of the other things that they don't tell you as a creative, that you need to mind your business, bruh.
Yeah,
you need to mind your business.
There's challenges. I think when people see the end product and they sort of see us put together as creatives, we do make it look easy. I'm not going to lie to you. I can relate to this even now, putting out this project in this platform. I think a lot of people are like, oh, okay, it looks easy. Wow, great work.
Because the first time I came, I think we followed one another. And then I went to the website. I look at the website, I'm like, this website is too clean. There's definitely budget, or there's definitely people who know what they're doing behind this. Because I looked at the whole layout and how everything is just so. I'm like, I was damn impressed. Like that's good. That website,
thank you so much.
I just going just to go look at it. It's really proper. I won't lie.
Definitely.
I know, because sorry. No, you can go.
Yeah. We worked with people who are super, super talented. But even then, there's challenges on the back end. And I like the fact that you talk about the worth thing, because I think a lot of creatives can relate to that. We sort of focus on getting the work done so the work can speak for itself. And when you go into those spaces, people can, respect you. But sometimes it doesn't happen like that. You put the work in and people still shortchange you. And I hate that. I've sort of gotten to a point where energetically I've removed myself from certain things, like because I believe that even money is energy, right? And so if you want to orbit a certain kind of budget, you need to not orbit a certain kind of client, or not orbit certain kind of conversations, and I think that's really worked for me, but it does really get you down when you feel like the work is worth it and you as an artist is worth it, but no.
No, not that much. Not that much. Linati's charging this much. So can't you give me this, but with Linati's budget?
No.
So it's very tricky.
It does get to you.
Because it's for me, more than anything, it's kind of like an opinion based sport in the sense that I can't quantify my worth.
Yes.
It's always kind of like a thing of like, okay, I'm well seasoned, I can do this, but there's no calculator where I could sit like, okay, let's time this by this, by this, by this, by this, by this, and then this is your worth. So it's always kind of like a hard space to navigate.
Yeah, definitely. And even with fellow creatives, like I sometimes I think I've gotten to a point where I have started to adopt the thing of don't judge how much people charge. Like, no matter if you go to someone and you want to work with them or collaborate with them and they want to charge you 50K, yes, you will be shook. Definitely, you will be shook.
Definitely.
I definitely will be shook.
You know that feeling when you get to a shop and then you see the price tag over the
and you're taking back.
Did you say that? It's bayanya.
Why So I've gone to a space where you internally say, I'm Muyanya, but at the same time, you're just like, you know what? I'm not the target market, and by all means, as a creative myself, creatives should always, back themselves in terms of the pricing. I mean, you know,
true.
We're going to knock on doors until you get to a certain client that, has the budget that you're looking for, and doesn't argue with you about, you're charging this much and that much. So, I agree with you, Klaus. It is something that you can't really quantify, right?
Yeah, it's very opinion based. So
yeah.
I think I think this problem has been existing in the creative industry for the longest of time. That I think it's one that we could never really run away from.
Yeah,
it's just that just stay clued up. Just do the basics.
Yeah,
I don't know what the basics are because I think everyone is just even the big creative agencies, they're still trying to figure out certain things because it's a fast moving industry.
Yes.
Yeah, bro.
So you speak about having the backing of your friends, your family, and I know that community is plays a very significant role in the urban culture space. Could you share your experiences in the Cape Town space? Do you feel like the culture in Cape Town is leaning towards a sense of unity or exclusivity, like gatekeeping?
I think more than anything, when I got to Cape Town, it was much more than a culture shock.
Yeah.
Because it's a big city, but it's very different from how I grew up going to Joburg. It's very different from Joburg. Compared to Joburg, Cape Town is a bit slow. They're just very chill. They're just chilling people. Let's drink our grapes and let's just relax.
I know.
But much more than anything, when I was there during that time, it was Broke. Broke the brand.
Yes.
The guys, the collective. So they were still doing their own thing, and it's still a hard lockdown, and they were just about to really, really take off. So they were just doing much more than anything. It was very community based.
Yes.
Everyone was just coming together. Let's relax. Let's buy each other's brands. Let's work amongst ourselves. Let's collaborate, because that's what we were doing when I was living there. So much more than anything, it is a very kind of welcoming community. But even within the community, there'll always be those cliques that you require certain access to
you consider that
into those spaces. People are omitting certain information. But granted, sometimes I think it's fair. Imagine you, Lynette, you're working on a brand. You've been trying to find supplies. Supplies are very difficult to find in South Africa. Then you find them. Then someone is when do you do those things? And I'm I get the conversation where sometimes you need to gatekeep certain information. Certain things, not really gatekeep, but you just need to omit certain things at certain times so that people have to figure them out for themselves.
I get you. And I think maybe that's an interesting side of gatekeeping. It's the necessary side because we always talk about the bad side of gatekeeping. We never talk about the good side of it.
The good side of it's quality control. Yeah. The good side of gatekeeping is quality control. That's what I think about.
I love that. I love it.
Quality control. Because it's very necessary. I think it's been one of the trending topics this week on Twitter where they were really talking about gatekeeping. And I'm I don't think all of us could enter certain spaces, but there also needs to be like a certain form of quality control that happens. Like I look at the DJing space. I always look at DJs from like abroad, how their style of DJing, and then you look at the South African style of DJing, where it's very rigorous. If you are behind the deck, it's very rigorous, because we, even as the crowd, when you start playing and we hear Devon July, we hear horses, everyone just turns around and gives you that look that, nah, you can't be doing this. And I'm looking at abroad where DJs could stop a set, could stop a song mid-set, start talking, and then play it. And I'm like, no, that wouldn't fly here. So like gatekeeping in the sense of quality control, then yeah.
That's interesting. I wouldn't lie to you, I haven't thought about it like that. I think that's an interesting part of it. And I like
sorry to interject, but the trickiest thing about it is that who gets to decide who enters the circle?
That's the thing.
Who gets to decide?
That's the thing, Wesley. That's the thing.
It's cheeky.
That's the thing. And I think maybe that's how we end up getting to the other end of gatekeeping, the bad side, because now you get people that I guess the industry and the spaces feel like those people can decide who gets access, who doesn't get access, right? And I think this is a very alive conversation in the urban space as things move, because even in the fashion space, I think it's relevant. In the music space, I like the fact that you mentioned DJing, because I know that even when, for instance, Uncle Waffles blew up, a lot of people were like, she's not good at DJing. No, it's just pretty privilege. And look at where she is now, right? Look at where she is, guys. Like,
for real. And for me, it's like, I like how the internet has allowed us now. I've never seen Uncle Waffles play live, but I've heard her sets through like, the live mixes on YouTube. And I'm like, to me, it boils down to, are people really being like, riding the wave of like, I hate how like maybe when certain albums drop and then I go on Twitter without having to listen to them, because a lot of people were up midnight listening to everything. So now there's opinions going everywhere and you're seeing likes, you're seeing bookmarks, then you kind of get swayed to that thing. So for me, it's like sometimes you just need to be true to yourself and just be like, is this thing a good thing, or do I think it's really that bad as people say it is?
And I think also with social media, people, even I think there's cliques even on social media, and I like people usually say, "Oh, your faves." Your faves.
They exist.
Your faves. So I think even then, I like the fact that you're saying you need to engage the work yourself and decide for yourself, because on social media, if you fall into the space of Twitter that is that person's, that faves community, then you're going to experience the work differently than you would in another space, right?
Yeah. And remember, people in certain communities, people want to belong in communities. I think as people, we want to be part of like something, or as part of a group of people.
Yes.
So if you're part of that group of people who are like, but you're not being true to yourself, then kind of like raises questions about you and what you believe in.
Yeah, I feel you. So performers usually have like a pre-show ritual, like to psych themselves up. Do you have a pre-shoot ritual? Like, which artist do you listen to before you shoot? An artist that helps you get into the vibe.
I don't have like a pre-ritual. I think for me, it's like I'm shooting tomorrow. Most of the time, things that I would make sure is like I have my gear clean, my gear, everything is like charged up and more ready to go. But I don't really have a pre-ritual. But if the question would be like who I'm listening to right now, is like I've been listening to The Big Hash.
Okay.
He has this new, I think it's an EP or album called Heartbreak Hotel. So it's been on rotation for weeks.
Okay, I'll check it out.
It's a dope project. Okay. Very refreshing.
Okay, that's interesting. So I was listening to Omalay's Reason this morning. And in the song, there's a question that sort of struck me, and I felt like it might be relevant to you. So you capture other people's memories, but are you capturing enough of your own cherished moments?
Yo.
We're getting deep.
There's a guy that I've been shooting a DJ in Fortune Soul. He was asking me, he's like, dog, who takes your pictures? And I was like, my tripod. It's just me and my tripod. Like, to tell the truth, people not really take pictures of me, but my friends have a lot of videos of me, like, and stuff like that. So they capture those things, but it's never a thing where it's like, some of them, I never really hit them up to be like, hey, I'll send you stuff and stuff like that. But if we talk about like someone picking up the camera and saying they want to shoot me, it's always me, and I'm trying to do more of that these days, because I always feel like, I'm not sure. I'm ready to put myself out there more, because sometimes I've always felt like I've just been hiding behind the work, and it got to a point. It got to a point where it's kind of like my work was becoming me, but I have a totally like different personality, because I could do my job and just go do anything, go play soccer. Like, I don't even take photos or go be in a different space. Because for me, I feel like I'm a multifaceted person. So what I do could not really define me. As much as I'm a creative, I just like sometimes the simple and mundane things.
Yeah.
They don't even have to be with like creativity and stuff like that. So once I started like realizing that my work was becoming more of me, or I was becoming my work, that's when I was like, okay, let me start getting into the flow of like building my confidence to
be out there,
just to break away. But people always see you. People see me sometimes. I'm like grooving, like, hey, where's your camera? Why did you bring your camera? I'm like, hey man, can I just drink my Crown in peace?
Yes. And I can relate to that, because as a writer, like I have a lot of, like, I see the world in a different way, right? And sometimes I obsess about certain things. And if I'm talking about something and I'm like super passionate about it, someone will be like, hey, you should write about it. And I'm like, no.
I'm just having a conversation.
Like, I just want to talk about it and just rant about it. I don't want to write about it. It's like, oh, you should write about it.
I get that, because for me, it's like, people becoming like, yo, I want to start shooting content like this, and I piggyback on their idea, like, you should do it like this, and then they're saying like, okay, let's collaborate, you will be in front of the camera also, and I'm like, no,
hold on,
no. You see, yeah, it's like people expect me to be in front of the camera just because I take pictures, and I'm like, maybe, but at my own pace.
I get you.
Because if you look at the trajectory of like even like the most popular photographers, now they've become like influencers, where it's kind of like, now it's kind of like, besides the work that they do, they've become the face of that. So maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's something to lean towards, but I think you also need to want it for yourself more than anything.
Yeah.
I
get you. And I really resonate with the idea of not trying too hard to go with what the industry is doing. I even I know I have a problem with the word industry. Like, every time I say industry, I kind of curl in, like, because for me, I guess it's my own sort of associations with what quote unquote the industry is, which for me feels like going towards a certain direction because everyone is doing that, sort of forcing yourself into spaces and so many other things that come with quote unquote the industry, right? So,
I look, have a similar thing.
Yeah, no.
With the word creative.
Really?
With the word creative. That word. When I was living in Cape Town, it's like everyone is like, yo, creative, we need to build it. And for me, it's like sometimes I feel like people like fantasize or fetishize the word creative because we're in a very space where it's like there's a lot of creators. Everyone dresses kind of like almost similarly.
Yeah.
So we know the latest trends. We know who's popping, who's bubbling under. So everyone kind of feels kind of like the pressure to be a creative. And sometimes, like, I think you could see, maybe I'm very hard on certain things, but you could see that this one, forget to make it. But like, I'm not the judge of anything, but I'm there feeling like in my own head, I'm there feeling like, nah, this thing, hey, creative. Yo, guys, relax, guys.
It's interesting. That's so interesting. Like, I've never actually thought about that, and I've never met like, someone who feels the same way I feel about the industry, but in the context of creative.
Yeah, I hate not really. I hate the word creative, but I always feel like
a persona, like an identity.
Yeah, it's like I'm a creator. No, I'm supposed to be smoking weed when I'm working on different those kind of things, and I'm like, probably when I do smoke, I just want to sleep, dog. I just want to sleep. So it's one of those things, man.
Yeah, like, what does it look like to be in the industry? What does it look like to be a creative, right? And sort of breaking away from those things. So, okay, so to close off, we're speaking about moving away from the norm. Let's get into your dreams. If capitalism didn't constrain us, what would be your wildest dream? Like, if you had no limitations, no constraints, what would it be?
Yo. Like, it's not that deep, but I'd be a house husband.
Okay. Fair.
Like, for me, it's like I really like taking and nurturing the people around me. That I feel like sometimes you know, sometimes I really want to spend a lot of time with the people that I really care about and like have certain memories, but the money is calling. You know, the money is calling. But now, like last year and the year before, I used to be like, I couldn't be there for a lot of people's like probably birthdays or things. But now I'm learning more to be like, Ella dog, it's good to kind of like lose that bag. Not really lose that bag, just to pass on it so that you can spend more time with people. Because I always felt like, I'm always leaving on the road and then I'm coming back. Always in between calls, we're always in between time, and then I'm like, but for me it's like I'll just be chilling, and then once in every 6 months I'll start a new venture. I don't know what it would be, but like, the money, you don't have to be worried about money. You're just taking on a new project.
I feel you.
And then you're moving on. You're just figuring life out. You're living.
You're living.
So for me, it's like, it's not like I have certain things. I don't think when it comes to dreams, you need to have what the world is having. You just need to have your own mundane peace. And then I think everything will just fall into place.
I love that.
Everything will just fall into place.
I love that. And, it's very almost sad that when we are chasing certain things that have to do with capitalism, we do sometimes have to sacrifice the love, the spaces that we feel safe in, and so forth and so forth. So it makes me happy that as a young person, that's your priority, right? Because I think a lot of people right now are grinding. Everyone's grinding.
Yeah. But for me, it's like, now, it's like, the thing is that no one, even in the creative industry, has the privilege to do that.
Yeah.
But sometimes we need to recognize, like, I have certain privileges that certain people don't have. So maybe I could afford to make certain decisions when I feel like I can't go to this one because I have a birthday party of my nephew to go to. But someone at that point in time wouldn't be having that privilege to be like, okay, sometimes it would be like, rent is due.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, even with making certain decisions, I'm much more aware of certain privileges that I do have and that I don't have.
That's, I get you. It's tough. It's tough, but also, I guess being aware does sort of make the experience better, in the sense that you are more present in what you're doing, in what you're creating, in the life that you're living, right? And that's all we can ever hope for. as
Hopefully.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.